Hello from New York, and we've just been lucky enough to see this, Red Bull's livery for the 2023 season. But it's not just been that. They've announced a huge coup. They've got Ford on board from 2026 as an engine partner for Red Bull powertrains. Now, as exciting as the Ford news is, and don't get me wrong, it is massive news, it won't actually have any impact on their performance for this year. So the big question is, what kind of performance can Red Bull deliver this year, having absolutely dominated the championship last year? The Milton Keynes team had their most successful season ever last year, which is saying something when you consider just how many wins and titles they racked up between 2010 and 2013. But in 2022, they not only won both championships, they did it by winning a staggering 17 out of 22 races. That is utter domination. So let's look at the chances of them keeping that up in 2023. On and off track, Red Bull will be helped by key stability in several areas. Firstly, you've got Max Verstappen and Sergio Perez having their third season together as teammates. They'll be hoping that they put that team orders row in Sao Paulo behind them this year. Then you've got Christian Horner. He's still in charge, one of F1's longest serving bosses. And that's important because 4 other teams on the grid have got new team bosses this year, including rivals Ferrari. And technical genius Adrian Newey remains at his Red Bull drawing board, having overseen this new car. Added to that, they come off last year with the strongest car power unit combo on the grid, as a fantastic base to develop their package from. They'll go into 2023 as the team to beat, but every F1 fan knows it's one thing to get to the top, quite another to stay there. So what might cause Red Bull to wobble this year? First off, 2022 was the first year of F1's all-new regulations. That meant each team was working from a blank sheet of paper when designing their cars for last season. Red Bull nailed theirs first time out, unlike Mercedes, who took until late in the year to finally extract any decent pace from theirs. But with the rules largely stable going into this season, there's more low-hanging fruit for the other teams to pick in terms of exploiting the regulations. Red Bull, though, will start hitting diminishing returns on their development. Plus, as reigning world champions, they will have less wind tunnel time and less CFD time than any other team. And they've been hit with a further 10% reduction as a penalty for exceeding the cost cap last year. That means they'll have less time to test and develop the car throughout the season. Red Bull also benefited from their rivals dropping the ball in 2022. You had Ferrari and their strategy blunders, unreliability and driver errors. You had Mercedes, who started the season very poorly in the midfield and then came back fighting as the season went on. The Silver Arrows have been working flat out over the winter to make sure they start this season on the front foot. Over at Ferrari, they were so alarmed by how their season went last year, they removed their team boss, with Fred Vasseur coming in from Alfa Romeo. But remember, they did have a fundamentally quick car, so if they can iron out those niggles, they could be right up there in 2023. So Red Bull could face big pressure from 2 sides this year, and pressure can force mistakes. Aside from their own early reliability struggles, Red Bull were pretty bulletproof last season, especially on strategy calls, pit stops and race execution. But will they be quite such a smooth operation with the red cars and the silver cars breathing down their necks? The 2 drivers also have their own challenges to deal with this season. Perez won twice in 2022, but considering his teammate took an amazing 15 victories in the same car, Checo must try to find some more pace this year. Red Bull will need him to be closer to Max and picking up more wins and podiums if Mercedes and Ferrari get their act together. And don't forget, Daniel Ricciardo is back in the fold at Red Bull as the 3rd driver. Horner has been at pains to stress that Ricciardo isn't being considered as a replacement for Perez, but having an 8-time race winner on the bench will surely put pressure on Checo. Verstappen seems remarkably unaffected by pressure, but he is now a 2-time defending world champion, which means he has a target on his back. He's the one every other driver on the grid is trying to topple. He won a record 15 races last year, so it'll be tough for him to do better than that this time around. But he now has the chance to win 3 titles on the bounce. That's something only 4 other drivers in the history of Formula 1 have managed to achieve. So Red Bull's target is clear for 2023. Keep both of those championship trophies at Milton Keynes at the end of the season. But the question is, can any of their rivals stop them?